Welcome to Updating or Replacing Words and Phrases using Find and Replace. In this lesson, you'll learn to use Find and Replace for quality control and lightweight automation. With Find and Replace, you can start with simple tasks like replacing client names and move on to more burdensome tasks like making the spelling, capitalization, spacing, and hyphenation of words and phrases consistent. You can even fix formatting issues without changing the text and update outdated formatting from underlines to italics. Super users can use Find and Replace to convert outdated gendered terms to gender-neutral terms, make legally operable phrases consistent, and use wildcards to correct names that can be misspelled in unpredictable ways. We'll show you how. We'll cover features which are available for Microsoft Word for Windows or Mac. Hello, and welcome to Updating or Replacing Words or Phrases with Find and Replace. I'm Ivy Gray, and this is Baron Himley from Infinity Consulting, and we're ready to help you today. Are you ready, Baron?
Ready.
Take it away.
Okay. So it's obviously very common that you would need to search for things within a document. Microsoft Word has two flavors of find. You'll notice on the home ribbon, there's a find button. And again, one of the rules of Word is never click the button, always click the arrow. If I click the button, that's going to open up kind of a basic find. And if I click on this, I can type in, Cotter, and it'll show me all the places that Cotter appears, and I can click and hyperlink to it. And there's many times when that's all I need. I just want to know, where does this appear? But if you want to do anything more sophisticated than that in terms of finding or replacing, then what you want to do is hit the down arrow adjacent to the find button and go down to advanced find. In earlier versions, there was only one find. So this new idea that there's a dichotomy between plain find and advanced find. Previously, in earlier versions, when you clicked on find, you got this dialog. This is what it looks like by default. One thing I want to make sure you take away from this. Anywhere in Word that you see a button that says more on it, you need to click the button. They're hiding things from you that are incredibly useful. So this is the default position for the find dialog. If you click more, then you see you have a ton more options. Now, very annoyingly, every time you reboot your computer, it'll go back to this. So every day, because I shut down my computer every night, every day I got to come in and click more again. So just get in the habit. And this more buttons don't just appear in the find and replace dialog. They appear all over the place. Always click them. Notice in here, I've actually got 3 separate tabs. The replace, this is the same as clicking the replace button. This would open up the same thing. And a lot of times I'm using replace more so than find, and I'll explain why in a second. Go to allows you, and there's a speed key for this, which is Control-G. It opens up the go to. So if I typed in, I want to go to page 10 and I hit go to, that's, you can see all the different things you can jump to in a document. So it's just a fast navigation tool. In any event, once I click more, I see I can match case. I can find whole words only. For example, I want to find the word he and replace it with she. If you leave it like this, it will find every word containing he. And imagine how many times the word the occurs in whatever document you're looking at. If I came down here and said find whole words only, now it'll find the pronoun. So that's a kind of a big deal that you know about that little checkbox. Matching case. Okay, so here's another reason I might want to do that. This is an appellate brief. Let's assume that the word id, the abbreviation id, appears in this appellate brief a whole bunch of times, and I need to have it italicized everywhere it appears. So I can hit replace, and I could type id and replace with id. And you would think, well, what good does that do? Well, nothing like this. But if I click in the second replace with, and I come down and click format and font, you'll see that I can apply. So I'm saying find the word id and replace it with id in italics. I click OK, and it shows me that that's what's happening. I hit replace all, and now all 51 occurrences of the abbreviation id are now italicized. Like in an estate planning document, per stirpes is typically italicized, and you want to make sure that it's set up that way. You can apply formatting that way. You could also, let me switch documents here. You could also say, let's say I want to find everything that's bold and underlined and make it only bold. So I could say replace. This is another weird thing about this. You don't have to put anything in the box. You can actually search for just formatting attributes. So if I click and find what, and I click format font, and I click bold and underline, and I click OK, and I can say replace with format font, and I could say I only want it to be bold. Oops, I was still in the wrong box. My bad. Undo. Let's try that again. Format font, bold and underline. I forgot to click in the second box. Click in the second box, replace with format font, and I'll just take, in this case, I'll make it bold and not underlined. So you see what it's saying. Find bold and underline, replace it with bold, replace all. And now 35 replacements that were bold and underlined are now bold.
A couple of good use cases for that would be if you are updating outdated documents. So back in the day when, say, every defined term was always written in all caps, you can go and change that to make them bold instead. You can, or if they were all bold and underlined, you can change that and make them only bold. Or say you had a document that had all of the right citations, and it was back when legal citations, the recommendation was to underline them. If you want to change all of those underlines to italics, as is now the recommended style for the Blue Book, then you can do that all in a couple of clicks using Find and Replace. So it can help you update your form documents and bring them to whatever your modern standards are. You can also do the same thing with double spaces after a period. You can replace those two spaces with a single space, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and so that would just be a find button, space. Perfect. And replace it with one space. So I hit double space here, single space here, replace all, and that'll go through and fix. A lot of people only want one space between sentences, and that's an easy way to make sure that happens. You also can search for, under special, non-printing characters. And this is really important. There are a lot of times, for example, that I get documents that have way too many section breaks in them that aren't necessary. So separate class on section breaks, but a section break is necessary if you want to change something about whole document formatting. Like I want different headers or footers, I want different margins, orientation, paper size. A lot of times documents have a bunch of section breaks in them that aren't necessary at all. And if I wanted to get rid of all the section breaks, I could just go and find what box, click special, click on section break. It puts in the little code $B for the section break. I leave this blank, replace with blank, and I hit replace all, and that'll simply delete all of the section breaks. So you can use this for a search and destroy as much as I want to find this thing and replace it with another thing. If you replace it with nothing, then you're deleting those things. So you can delete words, you can delete, tab characters. When I'm cleaning up documents, I'm often cleaning out all the tabs. So I'll say, look for a tab character, replace it with nothing. And then in addition, you might have a document which has a bunch of extra hard returns in it. Hang on a second. I'll pop that up. So this document has all the vertical space is created with hard returns. It should be using automatic paragraph spacing. So the problem is, in order to add automatic paragraph spacing, I would first have to come in and delete manually all of those hard returns, and that would be super annoying and time consuming considering it's a 39-page trust. So to avoid that, I go to the top, I hit replace. I'm going to click no formatting and no formatting. Find what? Special, paragraph mark. Don't choose paragraph character. That's just a symbol for a paragraph. You want paragraph mark. And what I'm going to tell it to do is find 2 in a row and replace it with 1. So as you can see, here is 2 in a row. Enter, enter. And I'm going to swap that out with 1. So when I hit replace all, it just deleted 282 hard returns. And now I could easily select the entire document and say, add space between the paragraphs, and now it's set up right. So that's
So another thing that you can do with find and replace. So say we have set up the document in this kind of wonky old school way, and you have these extra breaks. Not only can you delete them, but you can use find and replace to actually apply styles to those things that you were changing. So say you have two enters before, and then some text, and then two enters after, and the text sandwiched in between. You can say, let's take anything that looks like that and apply heading style 1. And that will update everything all at once. So it's an easy way to go back through your document and bring it to modern formatting and apply styles in a consistent way.
Here's another really good use of this. There's many times, like if I find quotation marks in this document, okay, see how that quotation mark is curled? That's called a smart quote. I get documents all the time where some of the quotation marks are curled and some of them are not. Okay, so if I go to, and we covered this in an earlier class, but there's a setting in Word where you can control whether or not it's using the curled quotation marks or not. If I turn this little checkbox off and I put quotes around the word property, you're going to see those quotation marks look different than these quotation marks. These are just plain straight up and down quotation marks. I get documents all the time that have a mix. Some of the apostrophes and quotation marks are straight up and down, and some of them are curled. Well, you would want to ensure consistency, right? So what you have to do first is tell Word what you prefer. And you do that by going into the settings, File, Options, Proofing, Autocorrect. Click on Auto Format as you type. This checkbox is what controls. So if I say I want the curly quotation marks everywhere, I check that box. And if I want the straight up and down ones, I keep it clear. So in this case, I want to convert everything to the curly quotation marks. So I leave it checked, I click OK, I click OK. And now I just do a replace, and I tell it to find a quotation mark and replace it with a quotation mark. Watch the quotation marks right here next to property when I hit replace all. See how they're now curled? And if I do the same thing, apostrophe, replace with an apostrophe, replace all, now all 150 apostrophes everywhere in the document are curled. So that might be a good thing, particularly if you've been copying and pasting from other documents into this one, and you know there's a mix of curled and straight up and down. That's an easy way to make them consistently one way. You just have to make sure you tell Word what you prefer first under that auto format as you type tab. One other thing on that, you could do something like including but not limited to, and let's say I wanted to take out those commas. You could come down here and say including but not limited to, and you can say ignore punctuation characters, ignore white space characters, and it'll go through and find any occurrence of this, whether or not there are commas in there, and make sure that it's right. So that's another really cool little couple of check boxes you can employ. Don't forget about the ability to find hard returns, tab characters, and section breaks, and that you can look for formatting. You can replace formatting. And just to be clear, if you click on format font, for example, there's a bold and a not italic and a not bold, right? So you can turn things off. And there's also, if you say none, that will turn underline off rather than leave it neutral. So you can say find things that are bold, make it not bold. It could be applied to a particular word. And then if you use wildcards, and if you do a little web search on this, if you do Microsoft Word wildcards, you'll see there's great explanations out there for free that explain there's a litany of wildcards. The most common is an asterisk, which would be any number of characters, or a question mark, which is any single character. So if I did CAP asterisk and I checked use wildcards, that would find capitalism, Captain Cape, anything that begins with CAP. Anything to add to that, Ivy?
That's great. I love it.
Okay, so the takeaway is click your more buttons. Make sure you hit the down arrow, not the button itself, so you can get into your advanced find. And I in the old versions of Word, when I hit Control F, the speed key for find, that used to open up this dialog. And in the new versions of Word, it doesn't. It opens up the search pane over here. So that's something you might, like, I could not reprogram my brain, and I kept hitting Control F and not getting the dialog I wanted. So I reprogrammed Control F to give me advanced find. So that is something you can easily change if you're interested in doing that. That's all I got.
I would just remind everyone to, if you were using some formatting when you were finding and replacing, make sure you clear that when you go to the next thing so that you don't accidentally move that forward or carry that forward into your next find and replace. And be sure to check to make sure that there aren't any spaces or anything else in your find and replace. It may look the same, but if you have a space typed in to replace or a space typed in to find, then you could accidentally delete everything. So make sure to do the housekeeping and check for formatting, check for spaces, and get that right. Find and replace is your friend as long as you do the housework to get it right.
Yeah, and one last thing, I'm sorry, I'm having random neural firings. Let's say I wanted to find trust property. So I click on advanced find and I want to find every occurrence of trust property. So the problem is this dialog's kind of big. I hit find next, and does it find it? Yes. After you've done your first search, now there's a speed key assigned to find next, and it is control page down to find the next occurrence, or control page up to find the previous occurrence. So once I've done my first search, I can close this and I can hit control page down, and it will automatically advance to each subsequent occurrence of trust property, which I find to be a much faster way to surf through the document and find the occurrences of those things than have the giant find dialog floating around in the middle of the screen. Okay, that's all I got.
Aaron, and I hope everyone gets excited about using Find and Replace. If you are looking for a book on this, check out the Wildcard Cookbook by Jack Lyons. This video was created by Ivy Gray from WordRake and Baron Henley from Affinity Consulting, who both trained as lawyers and are now Microsoft Word and Outlook enthusiasts and productivity experts. This video is part of a series. To sign up to receive tech tips and training videos via email, please visit wordrake.com/tech-tips. Take Word to the next level. If you're struggling with repetitive word choice and mixed formatting issues, using Find and Replace can save you from untold toil and frustration. Try using Control F to systematically search through your document and automatically highlight sections of your text so you can efficiently spot repetitive words and phrases. If you can't find a better, shorter, clearer word or phrase to use on your own, WordRake can help. WordRake is editing software for Microsoft Word and Outlook that will help you edit for clarity and brevity in one click. If you'd like to learn more, sign up to receive tech tips and training videos at wordrake.com/tech-tips. When you're ready to take your work to the next level, try WordRake. WordRake is clear and concise editing software that will improve your writing while respecting legally operative phrases and key legal content. It's a finely tuned collaborator that will help you satisfy clients, win more business, and do more high-value work. WordRake works in Microsoft Word and Outlook. It goes beyond Microsoft's built-in spelling and grammar checkers to help you reduce legalese and wordy writing. It uses complex, patented algorithms to find useless words, dull phrases, weak lead-ins, cliches, and high-level grammatical problems, then offers suggested edits inline. Your raked document will look just like a smart colleague with an English degree has revised your work using track changes. In 3 simple steps, you'll have a better document or email. Try it today at wordrake.com/trial.